pace, making sure that nothing is causing pain or discomfort, as in joint pain, muscular pain, entirely up to you. If you want to stretch, stop, stretch whenever you need, and then join in again when you're ready to do so. Usual props are the ball or cushion, towel, rolled up towel if I don't have the ball, and then a band if I don't have the elasticated one. A strap will do the work, a belt, anything that I can use instead. So same as usual, see if I can try and find that comfortable position. If I'm lying down, I'm just going to let the mat take the weight. The legs can be bent or straight, making sure that the back feels comfortable, the arms relaxed by the side, the head is resting on the mat. If I'm seated, see if I can try to create a little bit more space at the front of the body to prevent squashing the diaphragm and then preventing it from working as it should. So I'm going to try and open up the front of the body, sitting tall, sitting as straight as I possibly can, and then focusing on the breath. See if you can think of the breath going down into the belly. So I'm just going to nice big breath in into the belly, and then I'm just going to relax. So feeling the bottom of the rib cage and the abdomen expanding with that breath. And then softening, relaxing again. So see if I can calm down the top of the chest, the relaxing through the collarbones, the neck, the jaw, the face, the shoulders. So there's no movement up here into the chest. The belly, the breath is moving the belly down at the bottom of the rib cage. As I feel that I've got that calmer breath, then I'm going to start running a quick scan over the body. The same as usual, just notice the pressure under the hips if I'm sitting, behind the shoulders, behind the hips if I'm laying down. Notice the position of the head compared to the shoulder. Is it centered? Is it slightly off to one side? Is it slightly turned to one side? Notice the position of the arms. Is it the same? The shoulders, the legs, the feet? And then as I start feeling a little bit more settled, just a little, the breath feels calmer, the body feels a little bit more relaxed, I'm going to start focusing on the neck. I'm going to start turning the head to look over one side, easing it back to the center, and then I'm going to turn it to look the other way. Same as usual, I'm not forcing the movement. I'm just trying to test the movement. So how far can I turn when I turn my head to the right? How far can I turn when I turn my head to the left? How much resistance there is when I turn my head one way? How much resistance do I feel when I turn the head the other way? With the corner of the eye, checking that the shoulder is not following, especially if you're seated, as the tendency is to turn the shoulders instead of turning the head. If I'm laying down, obviously the shoulders are against the mat, so they can't go anywhere. 3, 2, 1. Easing the head back to the middle. And then I'm going to change the direction of the movement. I'm going to start going into a little lateral flexion. So I'm going to bring the right ear down towards the right shoulder. Ease back, and then the left ear down to the left shoulder. I'm not expecting a massive movement. The movement is normally quite restricted. What I want to make sure of is when I move the head from side to side, there is no pain, kind of like trailing down into down the arms, into the hands. There is no tingling into the fingers. So I'm not compressing, I'm not pinching nerves into the neck. The head is still facing straight forward, so I'm not turning to look to the side. I'm still looking straight forward, straight ahead. I can feel a little stretch that from the back of the ear just comes down the side of the neck to the top of the shoulder. And then again, as I drop the ear to one side, the stretch feels stronger. As I drop the ear the other way, it feels looser. It doesn't feel so much resistance in there. 3, 2, 1. And releasing back. Easing the head back to the center And then I'm going to retest the rotation again. So I'm going to keep the shoulders nice and still. I'm going to turn to look over the right. Come back, turn to look over the left. Come back, right. Come back, left. And then noticing if there has been any change. So hopefully the rotation feels a little bit easier. Not so much resistance as I felt before. On the next one, I'm going to turn the head back to the center, and then keeping it there, I'm going to change the direction of the movement again. Think of the fingertips. I'm going to interlock the fingers, and then I'm just going to reach them behind the neck. Then imagine your hands like one of those kind of like neck collars that is pulling your neck, that is holding your neck up. So I'm going to create a little bit of a traction upwards, and then taking a deep breath in. As you breathe out, I'm going to keep creating that traction. I'm going to tag the chin to the chest. I'm going to lift the head. I'm going to drop the head into the chest. So if I'm laying down, I'll be lifting the head off the floor. I'm going to hold my position here, and then I'm going to take 6 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm just going to ease my way back, returning the head back into its upright position, giving the shoulders a little bit of a roll. And then again, I'm going to retest that rotation. So I'm going to turn to look around one side, come back, turn to look around the other way. And then again, noticing if there has been any change. Again, hopefully you'll feel a little bit easier. The shoulders are still keeping steady. They're not following through. 2. Last one. And then easing back to the center. Giving the shoulders a little bit of a roll. So it's a little bit more movement into the neck. I want to try and release into the upper back. I'm going to start off with a little lateral flexion. So if I'm seated, I'm just going to let the arms dangle by the side. And then reaching down with one hand, I'm going to flex down the right, easing my way back to the center. And then I'm just going to reach down the left. Imagine your head and your shoulders, as well as your hips, are to be sitting against the wall. So I'm not pulling away from the wall. I'm not twisting into it. I'm just trying to move side to it. If you're lying down, same thing, but you might want to support the head. So as I'm reaching down with the right hand, I'm going to support the weight of the head with my left. As I reach down to the left, I'm going to support the head with my right hand, and then switching over again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release and back. Giving the head a gentle roll, making sure that the neck doesn't feel stiff or doesn't feel tight. A little bit more movement into the back. I'm going to change the direction of the movement again. Instead of a flex into the side, I'm going to rotate. So reaching both arms straight forward, straight ahead, clasping the hands together, or keeping the hands apart. I'm just going to swing the arms over to the right, rolling onto the right shoulder, and then swinging them over to the left, rolling onto that left shoulder. If your hands are together, you can give a little tag to the arm, so I can pull onto the arm that is coming across, so to create a little bit more stretch around the back of the shoulder, but I'm not forcing the movement. If you're seated exactly the same, I'm just going to swing the arms around, following them with the head, making sure that I'm not leaning backwards or sideways. I'm just trying to turn with the spine from side to side. And then exactly the same as you did for the neck, notice the difference between right and left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And releasing back to the middle. And then I'm going to work in flexion for the thoracic spine. So I can put the hands directly onto the top of the chest, onto the sternum, or I can use the ball against the sternum, the cushion, just not to press directly onto the bone. I'm going to think of wrapping yourself around the ball. So if I'm seated, I'm just going to hug the ball with the shoulder and then just try to wrap my head and my upper back around it. If I'm laying down, I'm just going to wrap my shoulders around the ball, but as my head comes up, I might want to use one hand to help me support the weight of the head as I'm curling into the ball so that the neck doesn't feel stiff. Then I'm just going to release, and then again, I'm going to hug the ball with the shoulders and then curl my way into the ball. So see if you can try and create a stretch that goes into the back of the rib cage. So it's trying to open up the space between your vertebra into the thoracic spine. And at the same time, it's trying to part the shoulder blades. So it's open up the space between the shoulder blades. It's creating a nice stretch right across the middle of the back. And then I'm just going to release back to my starting position. So I'm not moving into the lower back, so I'm not trying to lean forward. It's just the upper back moving. So I'm just going to round and release, round and release. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And releasing back, giving the shoulders a little bit of a roll. Hopefully the upper back feels a little bit looser. I'm going to start focusing on the shoulders. I'm going to reach both arms straight up in front and then take them back up towards the head. I'm going to circle around, bring them around to the side, back to the hips, and then again, I'm going to raise them up to the front, as high up as I can, and then circle them round, back to the hips, and then round again. If I'm seated, I'm lifting against the gravity, so the arms feel much heavier than what they would feel if I was lying down on the mat. So it doesn't matter if I can't lift the arms all the way up, just make sure that to take them there, you're not pulling the shoulders up too. So I'm not shrugging my shoulders up to my ears. The shoulders are keeping down, the neck is staying loose, it's staying soft, but there is no tension there. And then I'm just going to circle. So it could be a little circle, it could be a big circle. The important thing is that there is no tension into the neck as I'm doing so, and there is no pain in the shoulder as I'm doing so. So I'm not forcing the movement. I'm not creating any grinding in the shoulder. I'm not creating any pain in the shoulder. 3, 2, 1, and releasing back, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the arms. I'm going to try again, but this time I'm going to go around the opposite way. So instead of going up as high as I can, as far back as far as I can, I'm going to swing the arms around the side, bring them up, and then together I'm going to pull them down at the front. So I'm going to open them round into a big circle, and then I'm just going to release them back to the front. So same as you did for the reverse movement. Again, it could be a very big, a very small one. It doesn't matter. As far as I feel that the movement is not causing grinding, it's not causing pain in the shoulder. It's not going to create tension into the neck or into the head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing back. Giving the shoulders a little bit of a roll, and then we're going to try just a little bit of opening and closing, just to have a feel of the final position that we want to find with the arms for the next exercise. I'm going to raise the arms to the front. I'm going to turn the palms to face up to the ceiling, drop the shoulders. I'm going to take a deep breath in, and then as I breathe out, I'm just going to open the arms out nice and wide. The elbows are soft. I'm not locking them. If I lock them, the shoulder will tend to push up to the head. So I'm going to bend the elbow so that I can adjust the shoulder, and then I'm going to close back. Then again, I'm going to open up nice and wide, and then close it back. So notice the position. So as I go into that opening, the shoulders are still at the same height, they're still at the same level. One is not higher than the other. The palms are still turned to face up to the ceiling. I can feel a little tension over the top of the shoulder. I can feel a little bit of a tension at the back of the shoulder as I'm pulling the arms out, as I'm pulling them wide, but there is no tension into the neck. 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, dropping the arms down, give the shoulders a little bit of a roll. Now, trying to keep in mind that final position, so that easy opening through the arms. That's exactly the same position that I want to find in rotation. So if you're lying down, I want you to roll over onto your side and then set yourself into side line for opening and closing doors. So I'm going to tuck the knees into the hips. The knees are directly in front of the hips, so the shins are level to the front of the mat. Bottom arm, I'm going to pull it through so that I'm resting on the back of the shoulder, and then the head is going to rest on the floor. If I feel that I need the support, I'm just going to put the towel or the cushion under the head to support it. Then from there, think of that top arm. I'm going to turn my shoulders, turn my rib cage towards the ceiling. And then as the arms open up nice and wide, think of that opening that you've just been practicing facing the front. Can I find the same easy position through the shoulders and the arms? Then easing the arm back, and then trying again. If you're seated, think of the same movement, but from a seated position. So I'm going to pick a side. I'm going to move my right arm. I'm going to come up to the front. I'm going to start swinging the right arm around the side. I'm going to turn and then open up just as far as I feel that my shoulders are still at the same height. My head is not suddenly being pushed off to the side. Then I'm going to ease my way back, and then I'm going to try again. So I'm going to open and close, keeping that rotation going on the same side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing back, relaxing the shoulders, releasing the back. I'm going to try the same thing to the other side. So if I'm seated, I'm going to repeat the same thing, but this time I'll be opening with the left arm. If I'm laying down, I can roll the other way or switch head to toes, making sure that the position is the same. Taking that top arm up with me, turning the rib cage, and then see if I can get into that nice opening through the arms, and then returning back to the front. 3, so not forcing, just think of a nice smooth movement. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And releasing back, relaxing the shoulder, releasing the arm. If I'm lying down, I'm going to roll over onto my back again, resetting my neutral as I'm lying down on the back. So a little bit more movement into the back, a little bit more movement into the shoulder. I'm going to focus on the hips this time. I'm going to start off with a little knee drop. So I'm going to keep my left knee pointing straight up at the ceiling. Imagine a glass balancing on that knee. I don't want to drop the glass. And then with the right leg, I'm going to start opening to the right. I want the hips to stay still. The leg is not going as far as it could go. It's just going as far as I can maintain. My hips and my left leg nice and still. Then I'm going to ease that leg back to the starting position. And then I'm going to open out again. If you're seated, you're not working against the gravity. So we want to try and create a little tension. So I'm going to place the band around the knees. And then keeping the band tied around the knees. If it's a strap, I'll keep it loose so that I've got a little bit of a kind of like space inside of the loop. And then keeping the right leg nice and still, I'm going to start pulling out with the left. Easing back and then opening out again. So working against the resistance of the band as I'm pushing out and then as I'm easing the tension back to the center. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Easing back, relaxing the hips, releasing the legs, and then I'm going to switch sides. So left leg is going to open out. The right leg is going to hold nice and still. 2, same as usual. If I know that the leg is a little bit temperamental, so it doesn't want to move, then I'm just going to guide it with the hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And releasing back, relaxing into the hips. I'm going to undo the band, push the band to one side, and then staying with the legs. I'm just going to switch the effort into the ball. I'm going to place the ball between the knees, and then I'm going to walk the feet nice and close together. If I can get them to touch, great. If I can't get them to touch, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to bring them as close as possible. Then once the feet are set, I'm going to start to squeezing into the ball. So I'm going to press into the ball and then ease the pressure. On a scale 1 to 10, think of a pressure about a 6. So I'm squeezing, but I'm not trying to pop the ball. So I'm not squeezing 100%. As you squeeze into the ball, see if you can be aware of your hips, of your pelvis. Make sure that the pelvis is not tilting backwards. So I'm not trying to squeeze with my bum, clenching my bum and tacking my pelvis. I'm trying to hold the pelvis in neutral and just to squeeze in with the inner thighs. So feeling the inside of the legs are tensing to create that pressure on the ball. If I'm seated, I can clearly see the legs. If I'm laying down, I might not quite be able to see the legs. So see if you can be aware of how much the right and how much the left leg are moving. Make sure that it's the same, right and left side. Same as before. I feel that one leg I can control it good, the other leg is not responding very well. I'm just going to accompany the leg with the hand. So I'm just going to guide it in the right direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Easing the pressure, relaxing the inside of the leg, and then I'm going to change the position of the feet. I'm going to walk the feet out wide. So think of the feet wider than the hips. So if you're lying down, you might want the feet to kind of like the width of your yoga mat if you're on a yoga mat. Otherwise, I want the feet on kind of like the outside of the hips as in terms of distance. I'm going to replace the ball between the knees, and then I'm going to start pressing into the ball again. So I'm going to squeeze in and then ease the pressure. Same pressure that I was using before. This time, I've got a little internal rotation into the leg. As the feet are so far apart, the leg tends to turn in and then press together. If you notice that the ball starts kind of like rolling, that's normally a sign that one leg is pressing harder than the other. So that creates that little wobble on the ball. So see if I can try and concentrate, creating the same amount of tension right and left side so that the ball stays steady in the middle. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and release and back. Easing the pressure from the ball, relaxing the legs, releasing the inner thighs, and then stepping the feet back to hips width apart, so neutral, back into neutral alignment. I'm going to, if I'm seated, I'm just going to bring them a little bit closer to the chair. If I'm laying down, the knees are bent, just making sure that you've got a good distance between the feet is something that you can kind of like push into, something that is going to support you. And then from there, I'm just going to come forward into the legs. So I'm going to lean forward into the legs, and then giving the hips a little squeeze. I'm going to try and stand off my chair as if I was trying to stand off my chair, and then sit back down again. If you're lying down, driving through the feet, driving through the hips. I want my hips to come up, the front of the hip to open, the rib cage is staying soft, so I'm not pushing through the back. There is no weight to go into with the head. The weight is across the back of the rib cage, is across the shoulders. And then I'm just going to ease my way down. So nice squeeze coming from the hips, coming from the bum. And then I'm just going to release back. 5. And back. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. And releasing back. Easing the hips, so giving the legs a little shake. If I'm laying down, I might want to bring the legs towards me. I can rock the legs gently forward and back. releasing the hips, so relaxing the back of the pelvis and the lower back. If I'm seated, just allowing the legs to relax the front of the hip, the back of the hip. And then when you're ready, resetting your neutral, same as before. Focus on one leg. So I'm just going to focus on my right leg. If I know that the hip flexion, so the leg lift, the knee lift, it's one of the exercises that I kind of like struggle with, then I'm just going to feed the band behind that thigh so that I've got a little bit of control of the leg. Again, I can guide that leg into that lifting and lowering. So I'm just going to focus on the right side. Think of the front of the hip tensing and then pulling the thigh bone up. Then I'm going to release that tension, allowing the thigh bone to come down again. And then I'm going to lift again. Same as usual. It doesn't matter if the foot lifts off the ground or it doesn't. Just to see if you can focus the attention to the front of the hip. So I might not be able to lift it off the floor, but I can feel the front of the hip tensing to try and get it to lift off the floor. And then if I've got the strap, I can actually use the arms to help me and then see if I can control the release. So see if I can try and work both ways, and not just that lifting the leg, but also replacing the foot back down onto the mat, just making sure that the leg doesn't drop down too quickly. See if I can slow down the release and control the lift. So I'm going to go up and then take it back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing down, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. Same thing with the other side. So I'm going to feed the band behind that leg if I feel that I need a little support, and then see if I can get the left thigh to move towards the chest, and then I'm just going to ease it back. If I can get that left foot to lift off the mat and then come down again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release. Relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. There's a little bit more activation through the hips too. What I want is to focus on the lower back now. Just making sure that there is no tension left into the lower back. I'm going to start off with a little pelvic tilt. So I'm just going to tilt the pelvis back, and then I'm going to bring myself back onto the seat bones. So I'm just going to roll back onto my tailbone and then come up onto the seat bones. Roll back onto the tailbone and then come up onto the seat bone. That's a nice gentle rocking, massaging the lower back and the back of the hips, releasing any possible tension that we might created down at the base of the spine. If you're laying down, using the mat to guide you, as I tilt the pelvis back, the lower back is going to flatten gently against the mat. And then as I bring the pelvis forward, I'm going to come back into neutral. So a little tilt and then back, tilt and then come back. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. and then easing back, releasing the hips, so relaxing the back. Just a little bit more movement into the lower back. I'm going to change the direction one more time. I'm going to go into a little hip hitch, so I can feel the lower back is a little bit looser front to the back. I'm just going to try and loosen it up a little bit side to side. So I'm just going to swing it to one, swing into the other, swing it to one, swing it to the other side. So hitching up on the right, hitching up on the left, hitching up on the right, hitching up on the left. Feeling the side of the belly, taking in turn to create that little hitch, the little tension. If I'm down on the mat, the back of my pelvis should stay flat against the floor. So the movement is just kind of like a sliding movement from side to side. If I'm seated, imagine your seat bones to be walking up and down on the chair. So I'm just going to try and hitch up on the right hip, trying to hold the right seat bone up, ease back, hitch up on the left, ease back, right, left, right, left. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And releasing back, releasing through the hips, or releasing through the shoulders, or through the back, and then see if we can coordinate now the upper and the lower body together. I'm going to set the feet comfortable distance. I'm going to bring the arms in front of me. Imagine a string that attaches your right hand to your right leg, your left hand to the left hand, so as if I was like a little puppet. I'm going to take a deep breath in. As I breathe out, I'm going to pull the string to the right. So I'm going to open the leg and the arm to the right. Then I'm going to close back. I'm going to pull the string to the left with the left arm. And then I'm just going to ease back. And then I'm going to pull the right arm to the right, open up the right leg, come back, pull with the left, open up the left, and then come back. Same as you were doing individually. Think of the movement. If I feel that the leg doesn't want to go there, doesn't know how to go there, I'm just going to give a little guidance with the hand. And then I'm just going to tell them how to get back. So I'm going to open and close, open and close. 3, 2, 1, and releasing back. Relaxing through the legs, and then keeping the same combination of the cables. So think of still right hand, right knee, left hand, left knee. This time, instead of opening and closing, I'm going to lift and lower. So I'm going to pull on my right string. I want the right leg to come up. Pull on the left string, and then left leg comes up. Pull on the right leg comes up. And then pull on the left leg comes up and back. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release. Relaxing the legs, releasing the hips, relaxing the shoulders and the back. If you're lying down, slowly bringing yourself up into sitting, finding a comfortable position, something that is going to allow you to sit upright, leaning against something. If you feel that you need a little support behind you, using the arms to give the support if you need to do so. So finding the seat bones, sitting up nice and tall over the seat bones, and then opening up the front of the body. So I'm just going to start lifting from the top of the chest. Just imagine a little hook that is grabbing your sternum, your breastbone, and pulling it up to the ceiling. I'm going to let the shoulders slide down at the back. I'm going to lift the head. I'm going to look up. I'm going to look back as far as I can. And then I'm going to release, and then coming down, chin to the chest, so the shoulders come forward, rounding the back, rolling down as far as the back feels comfortable taking you, and then back in reverse, restacking everything back on top of the hips, Think of that hook again that is pulling you up as if it was trying to hang you from the ceiling, looking forward, looking up, looking back. And then easing forward again. Chin to the chest, the shoulders come forward. I'm going to roll my way down. And then last time, I'm curling all the way back, trying to create the biggest lift, the biggest space possible at the front of the body, shoulders back, shoulders down, looking forward, looking up, looking back. And then easing your way back to the front. One hand to the belly, one hand to the back. Take your bow. Give yourself